For football at 4, Eagles practicing earlier today. We'll have an update on all of that and some thoughts on the game from Andrew, of course, right here on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN. We're getting you ready for the Eagles and the Rams, and you can listen to that game right here with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on the call. The pregame coverage starts at noon. The kickoff at 1, a little series of 1 o'clock games. Andrew DiCecco, this feels like it should be a 4:25 game or a primetime game, doesn't it? Little Eagles-Rams, the rematch. These are two teams highly regarded. Feels a little weird for these two teams at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it really does, Mike. A marquee matchup between an upstart Rams team. The Eagles obviously need no introduction based on their body of work. It kind of feels a little weird that it's a 1 o'clock game, but I'm certainly not complaining. I'm sure your listeners and everyone who's going to be watching, and of course those who do what I do as a reporter, certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a stretch of 1 o'clock games for the Eagles they have coming up here as they play the Rams this week, Tampa Bay next week, Denver the following week, all 1 o'clock games. But this Rams team, Andrew, this might be the toughest task they've had so far in a couple of games that have been close here. Dallas obviously gave them a little bit more than people thought. Last week they battled with Kansas City. But would you say this Rams team is the best opponent up to date?
Yes, from a offensive skill set position, and I would also say from the defensive side, they have a lot of young players that can fly to the football, they can apply pressure and present unique challenges up front. So this is, the Eagles do have an advantage, but this is a game that I feel could be high scoring because of the different matchups to keep an eye on.
All right, Andrew, let's look at some of those matchups here. We all know Saquon Barkley went for 200 on them, not once but twice last year, that regular season game and in the playoff game. So they can hand the ball off to him and be successful. Is that the recipe for success this week?
Well, Saquon Barkley in the two games combined that you're referring to rushed for 462 yards. So one would think with the personnel not changing all that much on the Rams side defensively, that would be the recipe for success. Now, you can also say that the Rams could try to sell out to stop Saquon Barkley, or at least try their best. They didn't have a lot of success in the postseason after that first meeting, but the Rams are going to score some points. And so the Eagles may have to take to the air in this one and really go, strike for strike with them. This is where I think that you'll get a better idea of. They've always led and they protected the football and kept it close to the vest. But in a game like this, where points you're gonna have to go get after it, that's where you're gonna get a better idea of can they do it when they have to do it.
Right. The conversation leading up has been Kevin Petula, the lack of explosive plays. A lot of people this week have kind of indicated, hey, the Rams can be beaten in the secondary. That's the weak spot. Now we've seen them give up 200-yard games to Barkley, but is beating them in the air the way that they're going to have to do it this week?
Well, if Saquon Barkley gets off to a fast start, I think they're gonna ride the heavy, the hot hand there. But I do believe that to get into the flow of the game and keep the Rams defense honest, they have to get the passing game going. Now, I'm not suggesting that they have to go with a deep shot to Devontae Smith on the first play, but if you have Dallas Goedert, let's say, even on those short slants to A.J. Brown, get your offensive skill players into the flow of the game, get Jalen Hurts, most importantly, in the flow of the game, and then you're now presenting a look where the Rams have to account for and respect, and they can't just sell out and try and tee off on Saquon Barkley.
All right, Andrew DiCecco is with us here looking at the matchups to watch here. Obviously, Philadelphia, you were at practice today. Will Shipley's back. Will he play in the game? Dallas Goedert back on the practice field. Will those guys play? And if they do, what does it add to this offense that has obviously struggled a little bit?
Yeah, well, Dallas Goedert certainly seems to be trending in the right direction. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, out there on the practice field. Will Shipley, he was not practicing on Wednesday, but Thursday and Friday he was. We'll have to wait and see what the official injury report says. That should be out shortly. And yeah, that's a positive sign, certainly for Goddard. Shipley we'll have to see. But I've mentioned this before. He presents such a unique dimension to the offense as a pass catcher. And I think he's been a positive development in terms of pass protection. And I like what he brings to the table. But Dallas Goedert, you saw how much they missed him last week, especially in the blocking department. I think having him there on the line of scrimmage will open things up for Saquon Barkley. Now, credit Saquon Barkley because a lot of his yards were earned, but I think you may see some more, room to run with someone like Goddard there, who's better at the point of attack, certainly than Calcaterra or Kylan Branson. So that'll be another welcome addition if he's able to be good to go.
Yeah, that's a big thing that Calcaterra very good in the pass game receiving the ball, but you can obviously see the difference when they have to pass the ball. Now, you mentioned the Rams offense. This is a different team. Last year you had, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, those smaller, faster guys. Now, Nakua's still here, but they have a guy in Devontae Adams now. He is kind of the more traditional number 1A physical body style, and then Nacua on the other side. This seems to be a better complementary group of receivers than the two they had last year, even though Kupp is outstanding.
Yeah, and they also have Tutu Atwell, who's an undersized receiver, but can certainly get vertical. And you have to be mindful of where he is too, because one deep shot can alter the course of the game. But yet, because of the way that the Rams use their wide receivers, it's difficult to envision a scenario where the Eagles feel comfortable traveling Quinyon Mitchell. But make no mistake, this is going to be a game in which I'm expecting them to target Adoree Jackson. And Adoree Jackson presumably will see a lot of Devontae Adams. That's a clear mismatch in favor of the Rams. But that's where I believe that kind of is why I'm of the belief that the Eagles are going to have to throw in this game, because I do believe that the Rams will be able to score some points. McVay runs a unique offense, unlike a lot of play callers in the NFL where there's a lot of condensed sets and things like that. So that's certainly something that I'll be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I'm interested, because you mentioned McVay. The Eagles have beaten the Rams, I think, 9 out of 10. Sirianni is 3-0 against them. They beat them in Week 12 last year, 37-20. The playoff game was obviously a lot closer. The Eagles seem to have their number here, but if you're looking at this Rams team from a defensive standpoint now, one of the things that we thought in the first game they played, Andrew, was they have the smallish defense. There was a lot of hype about their defense and the pressure they got from their young ends versus Fisk, who won't play. But they're a smaller defense, and I think that's where Philadelphia kind of wears them down. And you would think that could really be a factor in this game again, as Sirianni looks to beat McVay for the fourth time.
Yeah, this could be a game where you see the Eagles maybe try to counter the Rams' quickness and ability to kind of have that short area explosiveness with power and physicality and the bully ball style that we saw the Eagles execute to perfection in the previous two matchups. I like a lot of their pieces. Byron Young, I think he has 3 sacks this year. Kobe Turner, their defensive tackle, is one of the more underrated interior players in the NFC, if not the NFL. And yeah, I mean, I think where the advantage is that they have is for the Eagles in that matter is in the passing game, because A.J. Brown versus presumably Emmanuel Forbes. Remember, Ahkello Witherspoon's not going to be playing in this game. That's a matchup that I like to kind of rewind it back to a couple years ago, where A.J., I believe, had 146 yards and 2 touchdowns against Forbes. Physical, he probably outweighs him by about 40 pounds, if not more than that. It's imperative, I think, because they're shorthanded in the secondary, that they try to get that rolling.
Andrew, earlier today, Nick Sirianni, did it sound like he was laying it on pretty thick to the officials here with this tush push? Do we anticipate this thing being under high scrutiny the rest of the season, including this week?
Oh, it's most certainly going to be, because now there's even more of a spotlight on it right now, right? And the more the Eagles are effective at it, the more that you're going to hear a lot more complaints around the NFL, and it's going to be talked about nationally even more so than it is now. It's funny, that was the primary topic of conversation this week by and large, but I mean, Eagles-Rams is the game on Sunday, and this seemed like the push play and all the discussion around it was the center of conversation. But obviously they're going to be looking at it and officiating it with a careful eye and making sure that they're trying to leave no stone unturned and try to appease everyone. And it's very hard. It's untenable. It's hard to officiate. But, yeah, that was kind of the sentiment that I got as well. But the Eagles do it with such detail, and they practice it so efficiently and so frequently that I think to to sort of think that any team can run it the way that they do is discrediting the work that they put in to really fine-tune everything.
Real quick, we don't talk a lot about the special teams, but Jake Elliott, back-to-back 50-yarders last week. How much does his ability now to show that he can connect there change the way that Sirianni calls some of these games?
A lot, and it's warmer. It's going to be warm on Sunday. That's where the ball seems to go a little bit. You're able to get a little bit more distance on that. There's the new kicking balls this year, which I think plays a big part in why you're seeing so many long-range kicks throughout the NFL. But, yeah, I mean, you have to have a lot of confidence in what Jake's able to do. Jake has 2 58-yarders this season. The operation between Braden Mann, the holder, and new long snapper Charlie Hewlett has been pretty good. I talked to Charlie this week about learning his kicker because he's had many over his 10-year career where he was with the Browns. And I just think that this whole operation is so in tune and Jake Elliott is dialed in that it behooves the Eagles that, if you're in one of those tough spots, you trot Jake out there because he has just he's laser focused in on right now. And I think the weather is certainly going to help him, drive the ball.
Yeah, that's a weapon that it's becoming a big topic in the league too. All these kickers, I guess the way they've changed the way the teams can bring their own balls in now. You're seeing teams set up. We saw the Cowboys they ran the ball to set up a 64-yard field goal. Last week, the Colts ran the ball to set up a 60-yard field goal. The kicking game is certainly getting a lot of attention the last couple of weeks here. With the return of Shipley, if he is able to play in the game, how does that add to the kicking return game? Would you have a Shipley-Bigsby return? Because they seemingly are kicking it away from Tank.
Great question. I mean, for me, I would assume that they would keep Tank Bigsby out there as their primary returner, given that they gave up a 5th and a 6th round pick with, that being the most prominent focus, at least this season. Plus, Shipley's still working his way back from the oblique and, just practiced 2 days, so we'll have to see if he's cleared. But I would think that you want to try and preserve him from any unnecessary hits in the kick return game. They also have A.J. Dillon back there. John Mechie has seen some opportunities. So it seems to me that the Eagles are comfortable with running a rotation of players back there because the kick return game is such a new element this season where you're able to kind of capitalize and use that as an advantage and put some explosive guys back there. So I think Bigsby will be the constant, but I'm not so sure that Shipley would be back there this week, just, fresh off the injury.
All right. We're talking with Andrew DiCecco here, getting a couple quick thoughts before the kickoff on Sunday. And, of course, you can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. It's something that you are still wondering about with this team, question that hasn't been answered for you. You've seen 2 weeks. We've got a lot of things here. What is something that you're still kind of thinking, I'm still trying to see if this question can be answered?
The passing game when they need to have it, because we haven't seen it through 2 games because they've been leading or they've had the game pretty well at hand. Is it a byproduct of them trying to be risk averse, or is it something that they're trying to work through as they sort of gauge what they are and what their identity is going to be as an offense? So I am confident in Kevin Patullo, and I think it's way too early to write him off or be overly critical. I've seen a lot of that this week, but I want to see, Mike, if the Eagles are able to really open things up when they have to, because in a game like this where the Rams can score, this is going to be a really big test.
All right, Andrew, obviously A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith haven't been a big part of the offense. Would you imagine that this week they get going, or do you imagine this is more of the Barkley week? So which way are they going to be, a more pass-heavy this week or a more run-heavy this week?
It just feels like they're going to go back to the well until the Rams try to stop it. And so for those reasons, I think this is going to be a big week for Saquon Barkley.
All right, Saquon.
Wouldn't surprise me if he gets 90-plus.
Yeah, Saquon, I was going to say, Saquon Barkley has more yards in 3 games against the Rams than any other opponent. He averages 166 yards against them. That's why this game is so interesting, because of his success against this particular team in recent years, but their inability to stop the pass. It really lends to a lot here, and we'll see. What matchup worries you the most from the Eagles' defense against the Rams?
Eagles' defense versus the Rams, I would have to say the secondary. Well, I mean, specifically Adoree Jackson, but also you saw some miscommunication in coverage last week with looked to be Reed Blankenship. You have a rookie back there in Drew Makuba. So with a veteran quarterback like Matthew Stafford, you might see them try to put them in flux or have them maybe guessing or second guessing. There might be some double moves in there with some of those veteran receivers that they have. So that's something to keep an eye on. Adoree Jackson, this is his biggest test. I thought he had a nice bounce back against the Chiefs. Again, you can look at their receiving core and say, well, he's supposed to. He's been in the league 9 years, but we'll see, because sometimes when you're able to put that first game behind you and rebound, you're able to build off that a little bit. But he's somebody who the Rams are certainly going to be targeting early in this one.
I love it. Good, should be a fun game. We'll see Matthew Stafford taking on Jalen Hurts. Obviously, two totally different style of quarterbacks. Those two guys, two of the better quarterbacks in this league. They'll match up on Sunday. You can listen to all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. He is Andrew DiCecco. You can check him out on the Inside the Birds platform, InsideTheBirds.com, the Inside the Birds podcast, and right here on Football at 4 on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN. Enjoy the game, man. Enjoy the 1 o'clock game.
I appreciate it, Mike. You as well.